Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, we're heading north. Our Florida crew gets a taste of the Minnesota winter and a chance to ride along with some incredible sled dogs. Join us as we learn about the strength, resilience, and work rate of these huskies. And psychic Michael Bodine talks with us candidly about his take on whether animals have souls. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. For thousands of years, sled dogs and humans have coexisted. And some even say that humans surviving in Arctic weather wouldn't have been possible without these animals and the sleds. Our crew recently traveled to Minnesota, where we met with an incredible team of sled dogs with HHH Ranch. The Hastings Huskies' mission is to positively promote canine sports and responsible pet ownership. And as you will see, my teeth stopped chattering long enough to learn about the dogs themselves while getting to experience what it's like to glide through the snow aboard one of these dog-driven sleds.
Ready? Let's go! Good dogs!
As you can see, we are definitely not in Florida. We flew up 1,000 miles away and just look at what we're seeing. And of course, we're going to interview Dawn from the HHH Ranch and these marvelous dogs because, of course, what do they do up here? They dog sled.
Today we brought two teams to go get out on the trail with the dogs. And this team here is actually a team of Alaskan Huskies. The Alaskan Huskies are kind of designer breeds of the mushing world. And then the other team is going to consist of our Siberian Huskies, which are pretty typical what most people think of for sled dogs. The very pretty kind of dogs. The Alaskan Huskies are more bred for a purpose in the racing circuit. So these particular Alaskans are sprint dogs, so they're bred to just basically do short distance kind of racing, fast and racing. They actually have some German short hair in them, so you can kind of see that in their build. They're a lot different.
Now the interesting thing is, Dawn, that I've noticed you've gotten the dogs out and they're ready to go. Do they know what they're going to do? They're awfully calm right now.
They are calm right now until we walk over to those sleds. If we walk over the sleds or we start putting on harnesses, there's going to be a lot of chaos. They're going to get very noisy. So we're going to go start harnessing. It's going to get noisy. These guys love what they do. They love their jobs. We should all be lucky enough to have jobs that we love as much as these guys do.
And the cold, of course, does not bother them like it's bothering me.
No, this is actually warm for us. This is actually going to be a hard pull. It's very warm for them. They prefer it to be in the, like in the teens, maybe even the 20s. Right now we're at 36 is what my car said. So, so it's pretty warm for them right now. But they're in shape, so we'll be fine. But it's going to be kind of wet and sticky run. We actually try to let people drive the sled as part of the ride too. So we'll go over by the sleds, talk about that, some of the lines, and then we'll get them harnessed. Okay. Golden rule of dog sledding, don't let go of the sled, all right? I'd like to tell you if we lose the dogs, they'll sit down and wait for you, but that's really not how that works. They think, okay, now it's even easier because now we don't have anything in the sled. So even if we flip it, they'll only drag you a little ways and then, they'll get tired of dragging you and they'll stop. So the first thing you notice on this sled, it looks a little different than what most people think of for a sled. Most people, when they think of a dog sled, they think of the pretty wooden ones that are all up off the ground and nice slatted pieces of wood. The problem with those basket sleds is, you know, we always, almost routinely, we carry 200-300 pounds in our sled, and you go over a little bit of a bump with one of those pretty wooden sleds and you'll inevitably hear things cracking. So I learned very early on that basket sleds just were not for us. So these are called toboggan sleds, and they're nicer for what we do as far as carrying loads and giving rides and that kind of thing, because they're a little sturdier. They got a nice solid bed. The other thing that's nice about these sleds is they're lower to the ground, so they're not as tippy. That's not to say you can't tip these. That has happened before. But they're just not as tippy because it's a lower center of gravity going around curves. We have the brake here, and the brake is your friend, okay? The brake, we'll use the brake to slow the team down with one foot like this, or sometimes we'll even use this drag mat. It's called a drag mat. It's basically an old snowmobile track, and we just step on it and it puts a little bit of drag on the sled to slow them down, or we just use one foot to slow them down. And we'll slow the dogs down because we got to keep their lines tight, or like if we're going into a curve, we're going to slow the sled down before we head into a curve, just so we don't, you know, go into a curve too fast. So we'll slow them down, and then if we got to stop for some reason, we'll slow them down, and then we got both feet on the brake, and we're going to really get on the brake and hang on to the sled. The other thing we're going to do is we steer the sled by kind of leaning into our turns. So you got to hang on and you got to use your hips when you're leaning. If you stand up here all stiff like this and you say, oh, that's right, she said to lean, and I get like a panic scout. We have a scout program that we do on weekends, and they'll go, oh, that's right, she said lean. And I just shifted my center of gravity from my hips to my shoulder, and that's going to tip me over in a heartbeat. So we lean with our hips, okay? I always tell my Boy Scouts that they get to learn how to do the mushing dance. We do a little bit of this, a little bit of this. The other thing a lot of people don't realize is dog sledding is a lot of work. You know, even though we do have 6 strong dogs, it's going to be slow and sticky. It's going to be a hard pull for them. So you'll see me doing a lot of this. So I'll be doing a lot of scooter pushing here. And actually in some spots I might even be, you know, 2 feet and helping the dogs get the sled up a hill or something.
How do you decide the lead dog?
So lead dogs are kind of special. They will make or break a team, especially like for us, we're running 6 dogs. Normally that's what we run, is anywhere between 4 and 6 dogs, just depending on trail conditions. And but like on the Iditarod, they actually start with 14 dogs. So when you see the chaos of hooking up just our 6 dogs, you know, 14 dogs, those lead dogs have to know what they're doing. They have to be smart, they have to listen, and they have to have enough confidence to run in front. You know, it's really easy to chase something, to chase a tail. It's really easy to do that. Doesn't take much to train a dog to do that, especially these dogs. But the lead dog, that's a whole nother story. It takes 2 or 3 seasons for you to develop a really good lead dog. First thing you'll see here is we have our release line. And this release line just makes sure that the dogs don't leave without us. So when we go to leave, I'm going to give this a pull, and then that'll release the dogs, so we'll get going. That's probably one of the coolest parts of the ride. Is when we start hooking up dogs, it's going to get noisy and chaotic. Lots of noise. And I pull that cable and they get going off on their run, and it's nice and quiet. So they love what they're doing.
And what age do you start training them?
So I don't start running my dogs until they're at least a year old. Just because I want to make sure growth plates and everything are all, you know, nice and tight before I start running them. And then we will run them through till I have a 14-year-old at home that still runs, you know, some easy runs kind of thing. But they start to slow down, or it starts to catch up with them a little bit at like 10, 11 years old.
And then you just retire them? And
I retire them. Some of them, you know, are going to stay in the kennel for the rest of their days. Just because I know they're happier being in a kennel. And then there's other ones that once they get older, you know, if I can find a nice couch for them to retire to, you know, a good family for them. They're so friendly, and they just deserve that in their retirement, that extra special attention and stuff. So those dogs that I know are going to be, you know, happy being a household pet, then I'll try and place them.
Dawn, how did you get into this?
So I've always been kind of an outdoorsy gal. Even as a kid, I was an Jack London fan, and, you know, I started with Siberian Huskies because they're kind of look like wolves, you know, so there's always that fascination with a wolf and that kind of thing. And so I always liked it. My mom had a coworker that had a Siberian Husky that they were looking for a home for because they were tired of bailing her out of jail. Huskies are very good escape artists. They're very social. You can't put them in the backyard and just leave them there and think that they're going to be waiting for you when you get home. They won't be there. So anyways, Tasha was the first one. I took a dog sledding class here at the park through the county, and another gal here in Cannon Falls here kind of mentored me, and she let me throw my dogs in with her dogs, which were like little sprint racing dogs like these guys. And I remember going into her kennel and thinking, oh my gosh, these aren't sled dogs. My dogs are sled dogs. And they ran circles around my Siberians. Siberians in the racing world are called Slowberians. So 3 became 7, 7 became 10, and 10 became 40.
And there we are today.
We are. So,
these dogs are working dogs, but are they your pets?
they are, you know, they are. You know, sometimes I get that kind of, you know, if I was to run this like a business, you know, then there was some bad business decisions that I make because these guys are my pets, you know. Even though I have 40 dogs, I still, you know, I can tell each dog's bark from the house. I know the dogs, and that's probably true of most mushers. They spend a lot of time with their dogs, and even though they're working dogs, they still are a real important part of my life.
If you'd like to learn more about the Hastings Huskies, you can go online to hhhranch.net. As you may have seen in some of the video, we did have a special guest with us on our ride. Paranormal expert Michael Bodine tagged along for the experience. Coming up after the break, we sit down with the incomparable supernatural psychic to find out his thoughts on whether your pet has a soul and what may happen after they pass. That's next.
Good morning, Mr. Benson. Your breakfast is served.
Time for another day in doggy paradise. I sure am one lucky pup.
Mr. Benson, would you like to go out for your morning stroll? The weather is quite lovely today.
That sounds wonderful. Don't mind if I do. After all that exercise, I think I'd like to lounge by the pool and maybe dip my paws in.
As you wish, sir. Right this way.
Ah, what a perfect day. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else but Dante's Den while Mom and Dad are away.
At Dante's Den, we pride ourselves in providing the best experience for your beloved pup. Whether it be a day, a month, or a year, Dante's Den should always be at the top of your list for boarding. With an expansive campus, your dog will enjoy daily walks, pool time, and an endless supply of love. Even better, it's all under 24/7 supervision from our wonderful staff. If you're anything like us, your dog's safety and happiness come first. To learn more about Dante's Den, visit dantesden.org.
Oftentimes, as humans, we struggle with grief after losing a beloved pet. I myself have lost many of my favorite dogs through the years, and often I would consult a friend who had lived his life clairvoyant. So while up north, we took the opportunity to sit with Michael Bodine and ask him some tough questions in hopes of getting answers that could provide some comfort in a time of loss. So many times at Dante's Den, we get asked questions that we really don't have the answers for. And we try to make an answer, but it doesn't always work. And one of them is, do animals have souls? So we thought we'd go to an expert, Michael Bodine, a psychic and a counselor. Do they have souls?
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, they're, you know, everybody has different beliefs about stuff, but when it comes to animals, I can't tell you, I've been doing this, 50 plus years, and thousands and thousands of people have told me when their pets pass, that they claim to see them, or they think they're gonna run over them when they're walking, or they're in the side of their eyes when they're walking through stuff. And there's pictures of them at crash sites, and pictures of them like in houses, you know, dogs just kind of waiting for people. When you go to the hospital, you can always, it seems like you can always see some sort of animal waiting for people, like when they're about to pass. I know for some people it seems strange, but my cat passed. He was, you know, he was around forever, and for the first year of his passing, I swear I could see him sitting in his chair, walking next to me. People that would come over to my house for readings would see him. Oh, your cat. And then I'd say, no, my cat died. And they would look and he'd be gone. My dogs, or Dante, when I first got him, he would come into my room and smell where I could see the cat. And it's kind of, in my world, it's kind of normal, you know, for that to happen when a animal passes. It depends too, like some people are really close to their animals. Some people aren't as close, but some people really are. And I think the people that are tend to feel them and sometimes hear them more than the people that aren't as close.
We get told my dog was my soulmate.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, it's funny. I think it's a lot harder for some people to deal with the passing of a pet than it is for like a friend or a relative. I don't know.
Well, sometimes we hear that.
Yeah.
People would rather be with their dogs.
Absolutely,
than with other humans.
Because that bond is really strong. And so I think because of that bond, I think it's, I know it sounds weird. I know it, and it's something that people just think, oh, whatever, they're just making it all up. But I'm telling you, I mean, there's tons of pictures of them, of like dogs just sitting there, waiting for there's this one picture, I wish I had it. This guy was in a car accident, and they were taking pictures of it and stuff like that. You could see this like brown lab just sitting there waiting for him. And then when they developed the film and everybody's freaking out, and because they could see this thing, the spouse, or one of the relatives said that was their dog that had lived with them for years, and it was his favorite dog.
And he stayed with them.
Stayed with them, yeah. And that's more normal than not seeing or feeling a dog, or a cat, or a parakeet, or whatever.
So we can conclude they do have souls.
I would think so, yeah. Either that or they're just really good at, you know, cut and pasting stuff. But no.
But we do think they're very intelligent.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's like an energy, you know. People are made up of energy, and animals are made up of energy, and yeah. So I would say, well, I definitely think that they have souls, but the reason I'm hesitant is sometimes people don't see their animal. They think about them and they wish they could, but a lot of times people do.
Because they don't connect.
Right, they don't connect. And I was told when I was a kid that your pets would wait for you when you were passed, like, you know, pets that you had when you were a kid. So yeah, I would say yes. Well, yeah, I would definitely say yes.
Well, I think we'll explore that.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back. Here at Dante's Den Foundation in Mayaca, Florida, dogs are life. One of our many programs is called Breaking Barriers. Trainers take some of the tough cases and they make it their personal mission to do what it takes to ensure that these dogs have a chance at a good life.
Today we have a 4-year-old poodle. Her name is Lulu. Lulu came to us. She's very, very aggressive. 6 months ago, I actually got to meet the dog and did an evaluation on her. She was great. She had no issues. The family she went to had a little bit of a chaotic situation going on, and then she bit the husband. So they brought Lulu back so we could take a look at Lulu. And as you can see, Lulu had some problems. The two drivers brought Lulu in, and we met out here again in the Welcome Center. So we let Lulu loose because I always like to see dogs I don't want them on a leash. I want to be able to see if I can control the scenario. Lulu got really, really aggressive really quick. She lunged at me probably 5 or 6 times. She did nothing, she didn't growl at all, but she tried to bite and she tried to lunge, or she did lunge. And now, as you'll see coming up here, she's a totally different dog. Oh! What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, that's my girl. So a lot of what her issues were socialization problems. She had not been around a lot of people. She was pretty much with one person in the household. So she wasn't brought out, she wasn't socialized. I've had her with every single staff member. We all work her obedience, and we all get to play with her. And that brought her right out of her shell because we didn't even know she had a tail for the first couple days that she was here. And she's got an awesome tail now, and all it does is this the whole time. But she's a great little girl. She likes to lick, she likes to kiss now, instead of bite and chew. Yeah, so what's gonna happen is when we adopt her out, we'll get to meet the people. Anybody interested in Lulu, we'll get to meet. They'll come in for a visit with myself or Courtney. Then they'll get to have a visit with Miss Marcia. And then we'll get to see, I'll do a home visit to make sure she's going to the right environment. She needs a strong handler that can handle this little 18-pound dog. So we're at Dante's Den today. Today we're going to bring out Bandit. Bandit is a great white Pyrenees mix. Bandit came to us with 0 name recognition, 0 manners. He is a big giant buffalo. So he's 155 pounds. He pushes everybody around, has problems. He's selective with people, okay? So he growls. He doesn't like people coming in the front door. His father was very, very sick and was put in the ICU here at the local hospital. Unfortunately, he passed away. And the new owner of the dog is having us train the dog with basic obedience in hopes of being able to interact with her 2 puppies at home. So with Bandit, we're trying to not just get through the name recognition, we had to make sure and go through all the paperwork to make sure that was his actual name, because he is not recalled to his name at all, no matter what we've tried. But he does recall to treats, so that helps out a little bit for name recognition, and we can start weaning off the treats and going into lots of positive motivation. We had to check to make sure his hearing was actually, because any noise we make back here, hep, he doesn't respond to anything. Now he's going to start running around. He'll juke a little bit and play, but he does understand treat, but not his name for some reason. Yes, he's one of the 2 challenges that we've had here. He was really aggressive in the beginning, but now he's opened up and he's a giant cuddle bug. So Bandit gets worked with every day, right? 155-pound Great Pyrenees mix. He's got to be worked at least 45 minutes. We usually do it first thing in the morning. As you can see by his heavy coat, thank you. He's a winter dog. He likes the cold, thank you. He's in a climate-controlled room right now that's 72 degrees. So the magic that goes in is, what happens is I have to break him down trust-wise first. Well, he'll trust me and be able to play with me, and we'll be able to interact together. And then I start handing him off slowly with all of our other handlers and trainers here at Dante's. Bandit, no, this way. Bandit, sit. There we go, look at you.
For more on our programs, follow us on social media or log on to dantesden.org. We'll be right back. Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org. We hope you had fun and learned a thing or 2 along the way. And we'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some engaging encounters. Until then, thanks for watching.
We do a little bit of this, a little bit of this, we do a little bit of hip like this. The only thing I tell my scouts they can't do in the mushing dance is this. They gotta keep their hands on the sled.